The moment someone you love steps away, vanishes from the familiar routine, disappears from the laughter you share, everything changes. Absence isn't just a gap in time. It's a spotlight turned on, illuminating the corners of your heart that you didn't even know were dim. When she's gone, the mornings feel colder, the nights stretch longer, and the air you breathe seems missing something electric. It's in that emptiness you finally see what you had, what you lost, and how her presence was the steady pulse beneath your skin that you took for granted. In her absence you remember the way her voice could still the noise and turn chaos into calm. You remember her scent, how it lingered in the corners of the room, how her laughter was the axis around which your small world revolved. When she's gone, what once seemed ordinary, those quiet shared moments, the reckless smiles, the comfort of knowing someone understood you without words, those things become treasures you ache to touch again. Presence is not about grand gestures. It's the hell of the mundane when it's gone. It's the cup of coffee she poured in the morning, the familiar weight of her hand in yours, the way she rested her head on your shoulder in silence. You never realize the value of that weight until the bed beside you feels vast and hollow. Absence magnifies it. At first, absence feels like relief. Clean air where conflict used to hang, space to breathe without her expectations. But soon that space turns into an echo chamber for your thoughts. All the things you thought mattered, the things you believed you could do without, start to matter more than ever. All the excuses, all the pride, all the reasons you pushed her away pale in comparison to the moment you learn that none of that matters without her there. You grind through your days pretending you're fine, but fine becomes a lie so large it collapses under its own weight. Every instance of joy is stitched with ironies. You laugh, but she's not there to share it. You succeed, but there's no mirror to reflect your pride. The absence shows you a mirror you didn't want. It demands you face yourself in ways you couldn't when she was there. Presence softens your rough edges, makes you believe in better because someone else believed in you. Absence rips away that assurance and shows how much you relied on it. You come to understand that presence was not passive. Presence was the spirit behind your courage. When she was there, something about you stood taller, spoke louder, moved faster. Her belief in you, her smile, her mere glance, all shifted gravity for you. It wasn't about dependency. It was about synergy. Two people breathing together, pushing together, hurting together, building something bigger than themselves. Without her, momentum falters. Even the tasks you moved through, the ambitions you chased, they lose some of their meaning because she was the one you wanted to share them with. Presence validated parts of you you didn't know needed validation. Absence forces you to look for that validation inside yourself, and sometimes that's the hardest journey you'll take. What absence does, harshly, brilliantly, is teach you clarity. It shows you what you tolerated, what you compromised, where you sold off pieces of yourself so the fit wouldn't crack. Because when she's gone, you can't pretend anymore. The false comforts, the empty promises, the careless words, suddenly they echo. You notice now how she listened when you spoke, how she let you be yourself when everything inside whispered you needed fixing. You see how scarce that kind of acceptance is. You begin to mourn not just her, but the version of you that lost sight of yourself. You feel grief for not fighting harder, for not noticing sooner. You realize presence made you braver, made you softer, made you better, and the absence teaches you that nothing is small. No gesture, no smile, no morning text, without her there to receive it. But absence also teaches strength, because when she's not there, you have to carry both halves of you. You have to wake up and lay your head down at night without her warmth. You have to reckon with loneliness, with doubt, with the fear that maybe she's moved on, or maybe you weren't enough. And every day you survive without her presence. You build muscle in places you didn't know were weak. Pain becomes a school, regret becomes an opportunity, absence becomes the forge in which you either burn or become steel. It's brutal, it's beautiful, So you learn to forge your own presence, to fill the mornings with intention, to walk into empty rooms and make noise anyway, to write messages you'll never send, to hold your own hand, to turn your back straight when memories try to bow you low. You begin to understand that while one person's presence is a gift, presence also lives inside you. The kindness you offered, the love you carried, the faith you had in both of you, they're yours still. And even when absence roars louder than reason, you discover that presence, real presence, is something you can summon by living true to what you urged to care for when she was there, by becoming the person she saw you as, loving parts of yourself you thought unlovable. Every night you stare at the ceiling, you fight shadows of regret. But every dawn you stand and fight them with hope, because absence doesn't get the final word. Absence shows the problem, presence solves it. You find ways to bring presence back, not always to her, sometimes first to yourself. You rebuild not because you want to erase pain, but because you deserve better than endless yearning. And when you sharpen yourself, your purpose, your heart, your respect, you prepare for whatever comes. Whether it's reconciliation or peace or inevitable closure, presence becomes your anchor. The longer he's gone without you, the more absence magnifies what existence without you actually costs. And that knowledge doesn't just hurt, it awakens. Let every pulse in your chest, every lonely breath remind you, presence is never gratuitous. Presence is the difference between surviving and fully living. Absence teaches its value, and maybe that's its hardest lesson. But it's also its greatest, because when you know what presence is and what it means, you recognize it instantly. And once you recognize it, you refuse anything less, not just from someone else, but from yourself. Pride is the most seductive armor a person can wear, yet it is the heaviest chain they will ever carry. When someone you love is gone, pride whispers in your ear, convincing you that silence makes you strong, that ignoring the ache makes you powerful, that indifference is victory. But beneath that facade, beneath the rigid posture and the rehearsed calm, there is a wound that pride cannot touch. It delays healing because it forces you to live in denial. It convinces you that admitting pain is weakness, when in reality, denying that pain is the very reason it keeps cutting deeper. Pride may keep you from sending that message, from making that call, from looking someone in the eyes and saying, "I miss you." But no matter how high the walls you build, longing seeps through like water, breaking stone, seeping into every crack of your armor until it becomes unbearable. Pride delays healing because it thrives on pretending. You put on the mask of someone unaffected, laugh louder in public, show up dressed sharper, speak with authority. To the world, it looks like you've moved on, that you're untouched. But at night, when the silence is too thick, the longing creeps back in and burns like fire in your chest. Pride keeps you from crying when you want to scream. It forces you to swallow emotions that were never meant to stay inside. It convinces you that reaching out is surrender, even though every cell in your body aches to feel that familiar warmth again. Pride doesn't make you strong, it makes you stagnant. It holds you hostage in a prison of your own creation, punishing you for a crime that only exists in your head. Longing doesn't fade because you starve it. It doesn't disappear because you refuse to feed it with confessions or vulnerability. Longing is not fed by words. It is carved into memory, etched into the nervous system, painted onto the heart. You can pretend all you want, but you can't erase the smell of someone's skin, the sound of their laughter, the look in their eyes when they believed in you. These are not details that pride can bury. They live inside you like sparks that ignite the moment you close your eyes. No matter how much pride forces you to act strong, longing always wins because it is tied to truth, and truth is relentless. Pride delays healing because it lies about time. It tells you that if you wait long enough, you will forget, you will adjust, you will outgrow the pain. But time doesn't heal what you refuse to face. Time doesn't erase, it magnifies. Every day you resist admitting your longing is another day you reinforce it. Because longing is proof of love, and love doesn't dissolve just because you hide it behind locked lips. Pride pretends that silence is closure, but closure doesn't come from pretending. Closure comes from honesty, from acceptance, from courage to admit the heart's truth even when it cuts you wide open. The cruelest part of pride is the way it tricks you into believing you've moved on when you haven't. You scroll through faces, chase empty conversations, drown yourself in distractions, but the ghost of what you miss follows you everywhere. Pride whispers that you're in control, that you're above the emotions pulling you under. Yet every time a memory surfaces, every time a song plays, every time you catch a scent that reminds you of them, longing comes back with the force of a tidal wave, pulling you under. You can't run from what lives in you, and pride can't erase the blueprint someone leaves behind when they've mattered that much. Healing requires surrender, and pride despises surrender. Pride wants you to hold the knife instead of dropping it, even as you bleed. Pride convinces you that reaching out, that admitting hurt, that saying "I need you" makes you smaller, but the truth is the opposite. Healing only begins when you allow yourself to feel. When you stop numbing, stop pretending, stop holding your breath. Pride may delay that process, but eventually the longing grows so heavy that it cracks the armor. One sleepless night, one moment of vulnerability, one quiet breakdown. It comes whether you like it or not. And when it comes, you realize the cost of delaying it for so long. Longing is stubborn because it isn't a choice. You don't choose to miss someone, to ache for them, to dream about them even when you've sworn you've moved on. Longing doesn't ask your permission. It lives in the body, in the subconscious, in the very rhythm of your breathing. You can't erase it, you can only face it. And when you finally face it, when you finally let yourself admit that pride has only been a mask, healing becomes possible. Because longing isn't the enemy, denial is. Pride turns longing into poison when in reality, longing is just a reminder of the depth of your humanity, of the depth of your capacity to love. So many people waste years trapped in the grip of pride, convincing themselves they are above feeling, only to realize they've wasted time they'll never get back. They wake up too late, when the chance for reconciliation has passed, when the person they longed for has already found someone else. And in that moment, they discover the cruelest truth: pride protected nothing. It didn't save them from pain, it didn't make them stronger, it didn't erase the longing. It only robbed them of time, of connection, of the chance to heal sooner and better. Pride is a thief dressed as a shield. It steals healing, it steals peace, it steals opportunities to love deeply again. The longing remains, whether you hide it or not. It's in the way you pause when their name is mentioned. It's in the silence between your words when you talk about the past. It's in the ache behind your laughter, in the hesitation when someone asks if you've moved on. Pride can't erase that. It only teaches you how to mask it, how to bury it deeper, how to pretend it doesn't exist. But longing is patient. It waits. It grows. It sits in the corners of your soul until you're forced to face it. And when you do, you will understand that the only way forward is honesty. Healing comes when you admit that you miss them. Healing comes when you let the tears fall instead of choking them down. Healing comes when you stop fighting your heart and start listening to it. It doesn't mean you'll always get them back. It doesn't mean the story will rewrite itself. But it means you'll finally stop delaying the one thing you deserve: peace. Pride delays it. Longing forces it. And when the two collide, longing will always outlast pride. They say time heals all wounds. But the truth is that time doesn't soften the pain, it intensifies it. When someone you love is gone, when their presence is ripped away from your life, Time doesn't come as a gentle healer with soothing hands. It comes as a merciless teacher, stretching every second into an eternity where you are forced to live with the weight of what you lost. The first days after someone leaves are chaos. You're numb, in shock, telling yourself it's temporary, convincing yourself you'll adapt. But as days turn to weeks, weeks into months, the reality hardens like stone. You wake up and they're still not there. You fall asleep and the silence still surrounds you. Time doesn't wash away the wound. It keeps pouring salt on it, reminding you every day that they're not coming back. At first, pain feels sharp and unbearable, like a blade cutting deep. But as time passes, it doesn't disappear, it sinks in, carving itself into the marrow of your bones, becoming part of you. You learn to function with it, to smile with it, to carry it like a hidden scar. But it's there always, sometimes dull and heavy, sometimes flaring up like fire. Time intensifies it because it turns loss into permanence. The longer they're gone, the more you realize there's no return, no reversal, no shortcut back to the life you once knew. Pain matures, grows stronger, and learns how to strike you when you least expect it. You can be years away from someone, but a song, a smell, a memory can rip open the wound as if no time has passed at all. That's what people don't understand. Time doesn't erase, it amplifies. It gives pain more avenues to creep into your life, more chances to ambush you when your guard is down. The more time passes, the more moments you accumulate without them. The birthdays, the milestones, the lonely nights. And each one is another reminder that you are living in a world they're no longer part of. It's not just missing who they were, it's missing who you were when they were there, and time intensifies that truth. People love to say, you'll get over it. But what does getting over it mean? Time doesn't let you forget. Time gives you clarity, and clarity makes the absence sharper. You start to see all the little things you missed before, the way they looked at you when you weren't paying attention, the way they laughed at jokes no one else found funny, the warmth of their presence when the world outside was cold. These memories don't fade with time, they burn brighter, and that brightness doesn't comfort you. It haunts you because you know you can't touch it again. Time intensifies pain because it stretches the distance between you and the last moment you had with them. You replay that last hug, that last conversation, that last kiss, over and over, as if holding onto it can keep it alive. But the longer time goes on, the further away that moment feels, until it starts to feel like a dream, and dreams hurt when you wake up. You start to fear forgetting the sound of their voice, the details of their face, the way they made you feel. That fear gnaws at you. Time is supposed to heal, but in reality, it adds layers of longing, of fear, of regret, of what if. And then there's the cruelty of time in healing others when you're still broken. You watch people around you move forward, laugh again, love again, while you're still stuck with an ache that hasn't loosened. Time isolates you. It convinces you that maybe you're the problem, that maybe you should have let go by now, that maybe you're weak. But the truth is, you're not weak. You're human, and humans don't outgrow love just because calendars change. The heart doesn't keep time the way the world does. The heart remembers and the heart aches. Time intensifies the pain because it teaches you the depth of what you lost. At the beginning, you think you're just missing a person. But as time stretches, you realize you're missing entire futures. The memories you'll never get to make, the laughter you'll never hear again, the touch you'll never feel again. You're missing anniversaries that will never come, plans that will never unfold, dreams that will never be shared. With every year that passes, that list grows longer, and every addition to that list is another twist of the knife. The hardest part is that time forces you to function. It doesn't stop just because your heart is shattered. You still have to go to work, smile at strangers, take care of responsibilities. On the outside, it looks like you've adjusted, but inside, the pain is alive, breathing heavier with every passing year. And that's the paradox. Time makes you look healed on the surface, but inside it makes the wound deeper. Because while you learn to live with it, you also learn just how much of your life is shaped by the absence. Pain becomes a companion, not a phase. Time doesn't allow you to outgrow it, it trains you to carry it. You can laugh, you can love again, you can succeed. But there will always be moments where the weight of the absence presses down and reminds you that something is missing. And the longer the time stretches, the heavier that weight becomes, because you're forced to acknowledge over and over that this is forever. That's why time doesn't soften, it sharpens. But within that cruelty, time also reveals a strange truth. The depth of your pain is proof of the depth of your love. You don't ache like this for things that never mattered. You don't cry for people who never touched your soul. Time intensifies pain because it intensifies memory, and memory is the one thing you cannot destroy. It shows you that what you had was real, powerful, life-changing, and sometimes knowing that is both the heaviest curse and the greatest blessing. So no, time doesn't soften the pain, it carves it into you. It makes it a part of who you are. But maybe the point isn't to erase the pain, it's to transform it. To let it remind you of your capacity to love, your strength to endure, your ability to keep walking even when carrying the weight of absence. Pain doesn't leave, it teaches. And the longer you live, the more it teaches you that healing is not forgetting, but learning to exist with the ache, letting it shape you without destroying you. Time doesn't erase, it doesn't soften, it magnifies. And in that magnification lies the reminder of what it means to be alive. To love so deeply that its loss reverberates through every year you breathe. That's not weakness, that's proof you've lived fully. And maybe in the end, that is what makes the pain bearable, and when all is said and done, when the years have stretched out before you and the ache has settled deep inside, you come to realize something unshakable. Time was never meant to heal you, it was meant to reveal you. It showed you who you are when everything you loved was stripped away. It showed you that pain doesn't vanish, it transforms, shaping you into someone who carries scars with strength instead of shame. The longer the days without them, the sharper the truth becomes. Love leaves an imprint that no clock can erase, no calendar can bury. You may never stop missing them, you may never stop wishing for one more moment, but you learn that missing is proof you lived, proof you cared, proof you gave your heart fully. And in the silence, in the waiting, in the countless nights of remembering, you discover that survival is not about pretending you're untouched, it's about embracing that you were touched so deeply that even time cannot steal it from you. The pain remains, but so does the love. And that love, no matter how heavy, is what keeps you alive long after the presence is gone.